Hello. I think that helped. Okay. Oh, just a second. I'm here. I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes.
Take it off with the VPN, because the VPN makes it more safe.
For people to get in. Comment in the, please make a comment so I know that you can see me before we get into this. You're connected. Are we good? Are we good? Should we get to YouTube? And I know a lot of you guys don't know me. My name is the Global Black Girl, and I call myself Global Black Girl for several reasons. One of which I spent 5 years in Brazil. I spent just about a year in Uruguay, and I've been living in Costa Rica for a couple of years. So I have successfully immigrated, owned businesses abroad, and I work as an international relocation specialist as well as a spiritualist, meaning I read tarot, I'm clair, spirit talks to me, all of that stuff. All right. So you're going to get a kind of a mixed bag with the things that I'm talking about over here, but I have to keep it transparent and let you guys know, who I am. So that's just like a little introduction. And the title of this video, the reason why I decided to do it and to do it live. Hello, LA Cruise 10. Hi. The reason why I decided to do this video, as you saw in the title, was because so many people ask me, you've lived in Brazil. I'm from Los Angeles originally, like real LA, not a suburb, like LA. And a lot of people have asked me, well, why didn't you just go to Africa? Isn't the obvious choice, if you're thinking about leaving the United States, is to just go to Africa? And I'm here to say, no, it's not. And there's a lot of really good reasons why it's not. And while a lot of people may not like the way that feels, it's very important to say, because number one, you can live wherever it is that you feel comfortable. And I think that space needs to be held for that as well. Okay. But there's some even larger reasons why I am against it. So I have never lived on the continent. I have never been to the continent. All of my opinions are based on research, and it's the same research that I do whenever I'm considering moving to any country, whenever I'm in the evaluation process. Okay. I know that Africa is a continent with over 50 individual countries. I'm well aware of that. So to just avoid any uncomfortable, oh, well, do you know that's not a country, it's a continent? And did you know there's so many countries? Yes, I'm very aware of that. And yet and still, out of all 50 plus of those countries, I chose not to move to the continent. So something that I tell people, I always say, start out when you're considering relocating, you're considering going somewhere else, start out by checking with spirit, checking with your heart, checking with your intuition. Write down 4 countries that you're interested in. That's you listening to your intuition, which I hold so much respect for, because we got to go where we're drawn, right? So, you have your list of countries. The next step, though, we have to take it from that intuition, that emotional space, and then we have to do research. Here's where things get tricky. When I say do research, I don't mean do research on like going on Facebook and asking questions of people that live in the place. That comes way, way later. The first step when you're doing your research is to look at 100 plus years of history of that country. And when you're looking at that 100 plus years, you're looking at the countries that are neighboring them, their history of war, whether they've been colonized, what their GDP, their gross domestic product is. You're looking at the literacy rates. You're looking at sanitation. You're looking at access to internet, water, other basic amenities that most of us that were born in the US, the UK, Australia, more first world. I don't like that term, but you guys know what it means. First world countries. I look at all of those things. I look at how long the president has been sitting, what the parliament is set up like, what their government arrangement is how it's set up, all of those things. And what I ran into over and over and over again were, and of course I'm speaking broadly, what I ran into over and over again when looking at African countries on the continent, was that there was this chronic issue with war. One of my top things that I wanted for myself was to have a peaceful existence where I was not afraid of being caught up in some kind of a war or I don't want that. I was looking for peace. It's one of the main reasons I left the States. It's because I wanted a peaceful life. So a lot of them have been caught up in conflict. A lot of them had populations that were way below any reasonable. I mean, if you could, excuse me, have some water. If you could call it reasonable, levels of poverty, the poverty levels between the rich and the poor. Nasi, can you give me some water? The poverty levels were absolutely outrageous. Access to basic things like clean water, sanitation, all of that. It was absolutely unreasonable. And for me, I felt that I would be operating within more of a colonizer perspective to be comfortable moving to a country full of people that look like me. And I really hope you guys hear this, because this is really my bottom line. I'm going to talk about some other stuff, but my bottom line is I did not feel comfortable moving to any country where people that look like me did not have access to basics like clean water, sanitation, electricity, right? Consistent power, things like that. Knowing that they wouldn't have access to that and moving into some enclave where people who work for the consulate and for the government live. That didn't feel right to me. It felt like us operating from the environment of colonization that most of us are trying to escape. Us meaning people of color, specifically Black people. A lot of us, and most of our desire to leave the United States, the UK, or wherever else you might be, is to escape and no longer participate in that type of oppression. Well, what do you think happens when you go to a country that doesn't have these basic infrastructures and you go buy a house or you rent a house in an enclave that has all of those things while people just outside of the wall don't have it? What do you think? And another thing is that I didn't feel comfortable moving to a place where I would have to, out of my own pocket, spend money to provide or create infrastructure when the government clearly is not. And this government, many of them, most of them on the continent are full of people that look like me, that have not been able to or have chosen not to, I'm going to get into that, provide basic infrastructure for their own people by and large. Okay? Because this discussion is not about how we feel. This is about facts. This is about being objective, right? So speaking on that, this idea. Exactly. And then on top of it being slaughtered by the government over and over again. So let's get into the issue with corruption, because there's that, right? But I think it'll make it easier for people. People might feel a little bit more comfortable if I talk about the circumstances that aren't under the guise of or not affected by corruption. There are countries on the continent and not on the continent, Haiti comes to mind, that were under former colonial rule by any number of countries. It could be Spain, the UK, France, whatever. These countries formerly colonized these African countries and have made very unreasonable financial treaties or financial arrangements that essentially indebt those countries to their former colonizers in exchange for their freedom. They're literally taxing whole countries for hundreds of years, sometimes less than hundreds, because some of them are more recently freed. They're taxing them and they're taking all of their resources for pennies in exchange for their freedom. That's still going on right now. So when you're doing your research, you need to be doing that kind of research, all of it. You need to find out what the GDP is. You need to find out what their IMF, the International Monetary Fund arrangements are with these countries, because trust and believe, just the interest that they're charging them is bankrupting these countries, and they're not able to provide hospitals and running water and things like that to their countrymen, to the people that live there. On the flip side, you have countries who have had leaders that look like me, who have signed unreasonable deals with private corporations, the International Monetary Fund, and any number of other sources for money. They have personally pocketed this money and then sold off the resources of their country and didn't actually invest any of that money in infrastructure. And the conditions for the people that live there are absolutely deplorable. I have a real problem with that. I think that as diaspora folks, we are comfortable and we have a clearer understanding of how this works. And what I have found is that oftentimes, because of these very large, very profitable nonprofits that have gone to the continent, they have been able to, strangely, create this image of being a savior. And so people very often, a lot of people on the continent, and I will read you guys a letter that someone actually wrote to me, kind of echoing what I said. A lot of people on the continent feel very comfortable with this white savior kind of perspective. And so there's a resistance to seeing how these people that are coming into the country, it kind of extended to the Chinese when they came, that they are coming to rape and pillage and take. And going to a place where I see that this is happening because of my own cultural exposure, and trying to explain that to people who have been experiencing colonization, but in their own country for, decades and hundreds of years at this point. That's not a fight that I wanted to engage in. I had no interest in leaving my fight at home to then go join some other fight that also includes fighting the very people who I might be trying to assist in opening their eyes to the situation. Because one of the things that happens when you grow up somewhere where everybody's Black and the people that might be taking advantage of you are also Black, you seek people who are non-Black as your saviors, even though they're the ones who are lining the pockets of those that are robbing you. I didn't feel like leaving my own conflict in my home country to then go to and join some other conflict. Not at all. No, thank you. Because part of my resistance is seeking my own peace. My resistance is allowing for myself to not spend all of my life energy fighting battles and get to living. Seeing my children and other people who are coming to join me here in Costa Rica, other Black people from the diaspora who are coming to enjoy living and building. There is none of our life force being given to yet another set of fighting. If I wanted to fight, I would have stayed home. And it's also not my responsibility. And I think that a lot of people are uncomfortable with this idea. But me as a member of the diaspora, it is not my responsibility to take what little resources I have, overextend myself, and possibly put myself in a negative position to save anyone. That's literally not my responsibility. And I know that that might sound harsh, but it's the truth. It's not my job. I don't have the kind of resources, the millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that it would take to fairly offer people in my community, if I was to live on the continent in any number of countries, to provide them with the infrastructure that I require for myself and my children. They are entitled to as well, but it is not my financial obligation to provide that to them. Part of my resistance is that I believe that children and adults that are on their homeland deserve to have the right to have access to the infrastructure that I demand. I would not at all. And I think that anyone who says that they would is lying to themselves. If you are saying that you would come from the US or the UK and go to any continent, any country within the continent of Africa and live the way that the majority of the people there live, you're lying. Period. I don't have any problem saying that. What you want is access to culture without the access to the struggle. That's what a lot of people of the diaspora want. You want access to the culture. You want access. You want to be accepted because you have a dream about what living on the continent would mean, but you don't actually want to struggle in the way that the common man is. And we need to be really honest with ourselves about that. Because at the end of the day, if I was to go right now, I'm from LA, like I said. If I was to go, I don't know, to New York, they're going to treat me like I'm from Cali. And if I don't know what neighborhood I'm in, or if I don't know who it is I'm talking to, or who I need to ask for, whatever, I might get taxed. I might get my head bumped. They might take a little bit of advantage of me because I don't know where I am. That's just the way that it is anywhere. You always need to expect to get gringo pricing. And what I find is that a lot of African Americans in particular, when they talk about going to the continent, there's this expectation that they're going to be received with open arms. And they're going to be received as if they aren't in the position of any other gringo that has more money than the local. That's foolish. It's foolish to think that you will not be taken advantage of in any country that you move to. It's foolish to believe that you're not going to be treated like a foreigner, because you are. I lived in Brazil, in Bahia, where most people look like me. Right? And until I opened my mouth, nobody knew that I wasn't from there. That's the truth. But in the early days, I had to be very careful, because I knew that once they heard that I spoke English, the price was probably going to double. It's just the way of things. And I think that we being African Americans, or anybody from the diaspora for that matter, who goes to the continent, there is an assumption that you won't get taxed. There is an assumption that you're going to be received like one of their own. None of that is true. You don't know the culture. You don't know the language. You don't know what they're saying when you walk out of the room. You don't know. All right. And just because you're going to the continent and you're also a melanated person does not exempt you from that. Just like it wouldn't if you went to the wrong neighborhood. Okay. And I really think that there is a resistance to this understanding that we're at home everywhere. I have the right to live anywhere I want. And I have the right to build community anywhere I want. I have more than just the islands and the continent of Africa to go to. Because what happens is, and let's be real, where there tends to be a high concentration of melanated people, the quality of the environment is not very good. The infrastructure is poor. What I'm suggesting is that we collectively move to where the infrastructure is wonderful, and we go en masse and create communities. That's what I'm talking about, right? So back to the continent, because I have a long list of reasons why. Another thing is, be honest about what your budget really is. Do you have enough money, enough buffer dollars for the tax that you're going to pay, for the paperwork that wasn't filed correctly, for the palm that you're going to have to grease? Do you have enough money for that, and to be 1 or 2 days flight away from home in case something was to happen? Can you really afford that? I know I couldn't. I was being very real about my budget. If I had millions and millions and millions of dollars and it really didn't matter what happened, I probably would have felt more comfortable. You know, I probably would have considered it. But given that I need to be relatively close, if something was to happen, I wanted to be able to get access to family, bringing family, or if I needed any help. I didn't want to be 2 days flight away from what I needed. And I really think that we have to be honest about our colonizer mindset once again. Is part of the reason why you want to go to the continent, because you believe that your dollar is going to go further. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to be real. Because do you think that the people, the natives in that place, don't know that you're coming with money and you're coming with dollars or euros or whatever it is that you have, or pounds? Do you think that they're going to look past their own struggle, the oppression they've been experiencing in their own country? Do you think that they're going to look past that to try to help you feel better about your sense of lack of identity? Because I'm here to tell you, you have identity right now. If you're a Black American, You have identity right now. If you're from the UK and you're Black, you have your own identity right now. We have our own culture. We have our own way of doing things. It comes with us. So there is no need. That's another thing. I don't feel a need to live in the continent in order to feel confident in my identity as a Black woman, as a person of African descent, as a Melanite, as a Native person. I don't feel that need. So the desire to go and expose myself to any number of guaranteed and possible downfalls was not worth the cost for me. I moved out of the United States because I didn't want to be in the United States anymore. I wanted peace. I wanted to grow my own food. I wanted to have land. I wanted to live somewhere safe where I could invite other people who were also seeking the same thing to come and be safe. That was my intention. My home is in my people. My home is not in a fixed place. And we really have to broaden our understanding of ourselves, because we have experienced a very different set of experiences, right? Being in the diaspora versus people who have been colonized and brainwashed and abused and had their religion stripped from them, similar to us, but it happened in their own country with the assistance of other people who were given the trust of the people to keep them from that. They've been betrayed by their own in very acute ways that you and I can't really relate to. So a lot of us going to the continent seeking to absolve ourselves of these hurt feelings are going to be sorely, sorely disappointed, and it's going to cost you a lot, emotionally and financially. Look at what's going on in our own home country, and look at what's going on in Nigeria. Look at what's going on. Look at what's going on. I didn't want to be a part of any of that. I have a good friend who's lived in 3 countries on the continent. She's lived in Senegal, Ghana, and Liberia, right? And when I tell you, she could blend in. I don't know if I could. I'm sure I could somewhere, but she like blends in, right? She even adopted some children in where she is now. And she was like, I'm coming to Costa Rica. And I said, I'm glad, but why? And she says, because I'm tired of fighting with the people. When you don't even know or you don't feel comfortable identifying your enemy, you fight everyone. And that really hit me. I said, oh, it was similar in Brazil, honestly. It was very similar in Brazil because in Brazil, but it was starting to become, people were starting to wake up that Brazil is a country that has more than 70% of its inhabitants would be considered Black, but almost none of them are in positions of power. They're underrepresented on television, but everyone is just like, I'm just Brazilian. And so there was this resistance to identifying the fact that there was not only just classism, because they feel very comfortable talking about classism, but they don't want to talk about racism. They act as if all of the ills of society can be blamed on classism, which is a complete lie. Because when I lived there, and I can say this from direct experience, not saying that your individual experience is, can speak for the whole, because it can't. That's anecdotal. But I experienced being a darker skinned Black woman, being asked whose house I worked in on an almost daily basis, because I lived in a nicer neighborhood, and I would walk from the restaurant that I owned to the house that I was renting in this really nice beachfront neighborhood. And I would be asked, hey, do you have a sister that's looking for a job? Because I need a nanny. Do you have some, like, that's what I would get. And so people that go to Brazil and try to pretend like there's no racism, or try to pretend like just because, there's a lot of interracial couples means that there's no racism, it's a lie. And it's purposefully perpetrated because there's an intent to keep people from understanding the dynamics of what's really going on. Patriarchy is a thing. Sexism is a thing. Racism is a thing. Okay? So what am I trying to swear is where to go to feel safe and surrounded by people that look like me. Only place I can think of is somewhere in Africa. Infrastructure trade-offs, those aren't trade-offs that I was willing to make. And I also, like I said, take great issue. This is the thing. We have to be really honest. We're not talking about going to the continent and living how the vast majority of the people live. We're talking about going to the continent and moving to these enclaves with armed guards that have infrastructure that the common person who looks like you and I don't have. That's a colonizer perspective. We have to be honest about it. Where I live where like actual locals live. I live amongst the farmers and some of the wealthier people who are able to buy properties up here. The majority of the people in this country are literate. Like, I did my research on Costa Rica. I am living better than some percentage of the people here. There's nothing wrong with that. That makes total sense that you can want that. But to specifically go, they're homeschooled, to specifically go to a country knowing that the vast majority of the people that look like you don't have access to the enclave that you're going to live in. That's the thing. A lot of those locals are living in poverty. And we have to be honest about that. And so here's the thing. There are other countries where there are people of color, melanated people, Black people. And you can also invite more people there. And this is another thing. Like, we have to be leaders in this. We can't always be seeking for someone else to lead us. We have to be willing to be leaders in this. If you have a desire to go, find other people that look like you that are going somewhere where the infrastructure is good. There's nothing wrong with that. We have to stop feeling like we don't have the right to live better. I am worthy of going somewhere, leaving the trap and the distraction and the danger of my day-to-day life in Los Angeles. I have the right to say, I don't want to live like that anymore. And it does not mean that I don't want to live around my people. Because what I get a lot of backlash from folks is they go, oh, you're an elitist. Not hardly. What I am is done with struggle of in any country. I'm not doing struggle of in the US. I'm not doing struggle of in Africa. I'm not doing struggle of anywhere. I'm going where I know I'm going to have what I need so I can focus on living and improving my way of life and those of others who want to come and join me in it. This whole area where I am could be full of Black people. It could. It could. Tomorrow, if they wanted to, you could go to any number of countries that has better infrastructure and then isn't going to require you to invest in it in the ways that you would have to in most countries on the continent. Have you experienced natives from countries in Africa tend to look at Black people from America like we're slaves? They think we are somehow dumb or less than. Yes. And part of that is this cultural dynamic that occurs when people come to the US or they come to the UK. This most people have experienced this when immigrants come to the US, they look their nose down on us. Like, why didn't you do this? And how come you didn't accomplish that? In the same way that I find it distasteful to go to a country on the continent and get access to things that they don't have, because it's ignoring the fact that you experience trauma specific to where it is that you are traumatized. So my trauma occurred in the United States. You are new here. You get to enjoy immigrant privilege because that's a thing. When I was in Brazil and I was in mixed company and I knew that it would be beneficial for me to speak English and people to know that I was American, I received immigrant privilege because I wasn't their regular, right? That they're used to treating poorly. This occurs in all cross-cultural, cross-country exchange. There is a preference in the US for immigrant class. And immigrants know this. And they take advantage of it and they distinguish themselves from us all the time. No, I'm island. I'm from Jamaica. I'm from the Bahamas. I'm from Trinidad. I'm from Nigeria. Because it is a distinction, but there's a benefit to holding and occupying spaces that are really meant for foundational Black Americans. Yes, I said it. Because we open our doors to all that look like us. But we don't pay attention to the fact that there is privilege and benefit, right? So you can join the Black Student Union, But if you're a foundational Black American, can you join the African Student Union? No, because there's a difference. And I'm not upset at anyone feeling confident and feeling supported in their cultural identity. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that we have to find our own and stop seeking to be validated. Because when they come to our country, they let us know that we're different. What do you think it'll be like if you go over there? You see how you're treated when they come to your country. And there's a distinguishing factor of their immigrant status. What do you think it would be like when you go over there? And there's nothing wrong with it. We just have to stop being so uncomfortable in our own skin. We really do. And we have to put aside our colonizer perspective. And you know what else? We have to stop being so scared. Why are you so scared? You're already living where you're probably in the minority right now. If you and 3 or 4 other families get together, you will have more unity in your Blackness with a small number than you would being surrounded by Black people that you don't even interact with. That part blows my mind. Like, I don't really get that. You want to live around a lot of Black people, like maybe you currently live in a predominantly Black area, but you don't farm with those people. You don't talk to them. They get on your nerves. You complain about, you don't even mess with them, but you're willing to trade your current sense of comfort in your homeland to go somewhere that you've never been, that takes 2 days to fly there, and build community instead of building smaller communities that are close-knit and intentional. You don't want to do that because you will feel alone. In fact, you would actually feel less alone because you'd be a part of a real community, like an actual community that has intention of preserving life and preserving you. We have to change our mindset. I totally understand. Wait, Tafla says, I totally understand where you're coming from, but I personally think it's sad how people differentiate between Africans, African Americans, Afro-Arab. I never understood why or where that differentiation comes from. It's a valid differentiation. I don't have an issue with difference. I actually celebrate and value difference. Difference is beautiful and important. We learn from each other when we embrace our difference. We're differentiated because we are different. I am not the same as a continental African. I'm not. I have cousins that grew up in the South, but I'm from California. We're not the same. We're family, but we're different. And there's nothing wrong with that. We just need to actually be comfortable in what it is that means. Like I said, y'all, this is not for rose-colored glasses. That's not why I decided to do this. I want us to really look at what it is that we're choosing. Why are we more willing to put ourselves in a more vulnerable position, going 2 days away on a plane to be around Black people whose culture and language we don't understand, versus working with other people who come from the culture and language that we do understand and intentionally moving somewhere closer and having more infrastructure with a decided purpose? That's my question to you. Why is one, which is more extreme, easier to wrap your head around than the one that's easier to access? And, also, I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to leave. A matter of fact, I feel like there's a necessity to leave. Everyone talks about, our ancestors, let me get on this. Because I already know. A lot of people are already mad, and I might as well keep going, right? People are always with this, our ancestors, they built this country, and they died here, and everything that this country is in this country owes me. And even though I'm being facetious, I totally understand that. And I have 100% respect for that perspective. But you are trying to get water from a rock. You are trying to extract from a failed state something that was owed that you, by staying there, are still paying into. Do you know that? They're still extracting from you the longer you stay there. Our ancestors fought for us to have freedom, and that includes freedom of movement, freedom of thought, the ability to determine our own path. They wanted us to be able to provide for our families, to eat and to eat and drink well, to breathe clean air, to not be subjected to constant abuse and oppression. That's what they were dying for. They weren't dying for you to stay in the place that continues to murder you. That's not what they asked for. Don't disrespect them like that. Don't disrespect them like that. You can be mad about it. You want to fight me. That's not what they died for. They want you to get out. Your ancestors don't want you to stay there and continue to die begging. Why is it that we're not accepting their answer when they told you no? How many times do they have to tell you, we're not going to give you freedom or rights. We're not going to respect your life. We're not going to do it. How long? How many times do they need to tell you? I'll wait. Couple hundred more years. What are we waiting for? Exactly. What? How many more people need to die? Does it have to be someone in your family? Does it have to be you? They'll put your name on a bumper sticker and add you to a long list. And it's not going to change anything. They've told you no. Believe them. They don't respect us. Our lives don't mean what they should mean to us. So then the question becomes, how much do you value your life? Does your life only have value when your oppressor acknowledges it? Are you waiting for the acknowledgement of the oppressor to give your life value? Because I don't need that. I know how much my life matters to me. I know how much my husband's life matters to me. I know how much my children's lives matter to me. I know how much all of your lives matter to me. Your lives matter to me. Do our lives matter to us? Or does it only matter when you get acknowledgement from the white man? Is that what you're waiting on? Or does it only matter when you get acknowledgement from our continental brothers and sisters who continuously tell us that we're different and not the same? So you go from seeking one kind. I know y'all are mad. You go from seeking one kind of validation to another. You go from seeking one kind of validation to another. When are you going to stop doing that? When are you going to say it's okay for me to want better for myself and for my family and for my cousins and for my neighbors? You guys, your lives matter to me. That's why I spend my time on Instagram doing lives, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm spreading the word, and I absorb the hate, because somebody has to do it. I'm giving you permission to value your life before you're put on a bumper sticker on a t-shirt. Because it does not make sense. If you want to get away from white people, piece up with other people who aren't white, who want to build community, who value your life and who are committed to protecting it. Listen, I'm from Black LA, okay? I didn't grow up in white LA. I'm from Black LA. And I'll tell you what, Black people are more apt to act out violence against other Black people than they are against white people and move in the neighborhood. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Because that's the way it is everywhere, right? Mexicans are more apt to act out violence against other Mexicans, whites against whites. It's just what it is. All of that Black on Black crime is some kind of a talking point is ridiculous. But follow me. Living around other people that look like you does not automatically guarantee that you're safe. Living around other Black people who are committed to protecting your life is going to give you safety. That's what's going to give. Being intentional in where it is that you are is going to give you. You know what else is going to give you safety? Living in a country where they don't have a military and the police aren't killing people in the street. moving to a country where the police and the military aren't killing their own people. It's about being like-minded and holding space for us in an intentional community. We have to be, listen, we cannot stop running from what it takes to be intentional in our movements, you guys. It's not easy to be intentional. It's not easy to hold space and say, I am deciding to be my brother and my sister's keeper. I am deciding that I got to get up at this time in the morning to check on the plants to make sure that we have food. I am going to make sure that I am moving in integrity because I am being witnessed by other people's children. This is what we have not been able to do in our communities for a lot of reasons. And to all of those, oh, well, why don't you build a community in the States? Why would I do that? Didn't I say already that I believe them when they told me that they don't value my life? I believe them when they use eminent domain to steal our land from us. I believe them when they poison our water. I believe them when they put industrial dump sites in our neighborhoods. I believe them. I believe them. Okay? That's your choice. And it's the devil that you know versus the one that you don't. I tell you what I'm not is bothered. I'm unbothered here because nobody is getting murdered in the streets here. It's not a thing. It's not something that's only reserved for some. It's not a thing, period. It's not a thing. And also, fun fact, there are Black people in Costa Rica. A high concentration of them, matter of fact. There are. But their infrastructure ain't good. So I'm not going to go over there and spend money to live where the infrastructure is not good. Where I am, I'm on sewer, I'm not on septic. The electricity is out for 5 minutes, not 5 days. Okay? I have internet. That's how I'm on this live talking to you from a mountain in Costa Rica. I'm in Escazú. And there's tons of beautiful properties, whole neighborhoods we could come and occupy tomorrow. But y'all can't be scary. And y'all can't be full of excuses as to why not. Now, listen, everyone has the right to pick their struggle. And I'm not shaming anyone who chooses to struggle more than me. I'm not shaming you. But we got to be real about what it is that we're doing. And what I'm not here for is to pretend like that's not what it is. We have to call this out for what it really is. You have to go where you feel drawn, of course, but you need to do so with your eyes wide open and clear about your intentions and clear about why you're doing it. I didn't move out of the US to get validation. Okay? That's not why I moved, because I already hold myself in enough esteem and value to know how much my life is worth. We are from countries, if you're from the UK or you're from the US, how many of us are familiar and have visited Chinatown or Little Tokyo or Little Ethiopia, right? You know how they did that? They moved and then some of their family came and they opened businesses. And then they had some other people that were from the same place and they hooked them up. That's what they do. That's what everybody else does. But we scared. We refuse to work with each other because it's been ingrained in us. And that's a part of our culture. I'm not going to get into all the historical reasons as to why, but it is a part of our culture. And we have to break that and practice radical trust. What do you say to people who say it's a privilege to leave and that we can't abandon those who leave? I sometimes feel guilty. Here's what I say. Are you ready? I grew up off of Crenshaw and Slauson. Y'all probably don't know where that is, but it's a rougher, ugly part, okay, of LA. A lot of people, we see basketball players and people from, all over, right? Black people. They get on, they get some money. Where do they move? They move to nicer neighborhoods, don't they? Are they abandoning people in their original neighborhood because they don't want to live in the projects anymore? Or they don't want to live. Okay. Nipsey stayed too long. Nipsey was literally like, when I say same neighborhood, I mean literally the same neighborhood. Okay. Slauson and Crenshaw. He should have moved and he didn't. And it's sad. And we lost him because of it. He should have moved and came to visit. That's what he should have done. I said what I said. You should not feel bad for surviving. That's what I call survivor's guilt. Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Brianna Lee. I really appreciate you asking that question because that's what's on a lot of people's minds. You have the right to live and thrive. Our ancestors didn't want you to not live your best life. That's not what they sacrificed for. They were in the position they were in because they weren't given any other choices. The people who can't leave, that's a part of their path. And guess what? Them seeing you leave will inspire them and their children. You'll give them somewhere they can go. If you have the privilege to leave, build something for them to come and join you in. We all got different skills. Not everybody has money. Some people have other things. And additionally, sometimes they can't leave because of choices that they made. I would never feel guilty for moving to a nicer neighborhood, moving my kids out of a place where they were in danger. I would never feel guilty about that. And I still don't. There's no need because I value my life. It doesn't have to be taken in order for it to have value. It has value now that I'm alive. I hope that that makes sense because I mean that. Oh, can you guys please hit the thumbs up? There's 49 of, wow, there's 49 of you. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. If you are in a financial position where you can't leave, build community. It goes back to what I said at first. Okay. Build community. You're surrounded by people that look like you that you don't talk to. If you can't leave because you cannot financially afford to, build community. Start being an asset to your community. Take responsibility for your community. Don't make excuses. If you're living in fear in your community is terrorizing you. Okay? For real, for real. There's nothing to feel guilty about. We don't guilt people when they move to nicer neighborhoods. We come to their house and get in their pool. Isn't that what we do? You get a cousin that gets on and gets a good job and they move to the nicer neighborhood and they got a pool in their apartment complex or they got a pool at their house. You go visit your cousin. That's what you do. It helps you set the bar higher. That's what we're here to do. Trailblaze that and be comfortable with people not wanting you to do better. That's okay too. What would I say is a good base amount to leave? I have gone over this. I need y'all, if you're not already following me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram way more than I am over here. I'm going to try to do better. This amount of people, you guys giving me thumbs up and feedback and commenting is really going to help support me coming over here a little bit more. I'm trying to get this worked out. So please, bear with me. I'm still pretty new to the platform, but I have a lot of videos over on Instagram. Please go over there and follow me at The Global Black Girl because everything is The Global Black Girl. I have a lot of IGTV videos about that. But if we're talking about a single person, if you have 10K or $1,200 or so, you can live in most places. You should, however, book a one-on-one so I can evaluate your individual situation. But most countries, what is this?
It's potato, sweet potato. It's really good.
Sweet potato. Most countries you can live on 1,200 or so, but book a one-on-one with me so we can figure out your situation. But I'm really glad that you guys brought this up. Yeah, Chinatown and Little Ethiopia are in the US. In like every major town. Yeah, we have such a limited view of what it is that we can accomplish. And I'm not mad. Like, I get it. I had to wake up out of it too. So please don't take this as me. I would never talk down. I am trying to open your eyes, and I'm trying to shake you awake, and I'm trying to broaden your horizons and let you know you don't have to move to an island that is so dependent. Okay, listen, my grandmother's from the Bahamas. Okay. I love the islands. They're beautiful. Why do I not live on an island? Because one good hurricane, the whole thing is blown away, and they're asking for aid and waiting for imports to rebuild things. That's why. Because when you move to a place that's import reliant, it's not stable. That's why. So no islands and no continent. That's how I feel about it. I'm going to look right now at the comments to see if there's any questions before I wrap up. If y'all are mad at me, that's fine. You can go follow me on Instagram and DM me all your angry and how you're angry and how I hurt your feelings. Share this with people if you want to hurt their feelings, or they'll be mad. I'm okay. I can take it. I'm a big girl. And maybe arguing with me will give them the opportunity to start to think through why they're so committed to something that really, for most of us, doesn't work out practically. I really feel like you need to be a millionaire if you're talking about going to the continent and building community. Because really, like, if you have money and you go over there and you're not able to invest in the infrastructure, you're a colonizer. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, I will be doing a part 2. Before I wrap up, I just want to read you guys a really quick letter that a lovely young woman who will remain nameless sent me. Hello, my name is, not going to tell you, and I'm a Black woman born and raised in the UK. I found out about you via T/snappy-headed jojoba, and I've watched your videos on YouTube. I just wanted to say that I listened to the comments about why you chose not to immigrate to Africa on your Q&A video on YouTube. Normally, I'd leave a comment, but I thought I'd send you a private message. As a Black woman born and raised in the UK, but of Nigerian descent, I think your comments were spot on and completely justified. Everything you said and every single point you made highlighted the exact reasons why I have no desire to immigrate to Nigeria and the reason why I have no plans to immigrate to Africa. I also picked up on the fact that you said some people get mad at you for choosing not to immigrate to Africa, which is crazy, but not surprising. I've experienced similar reactions because some people know I don't want to move to Nigeria. And because these people think that because I am from a Nigerian family, let me just insert right here. If you have family in a country, any country you're planning on going to, you have a leg up on someone who knows no one. Okay. It always makes things easier. So that's why I caution to you guys, whenever you go on these binges with these YouTube videos from people that immigrated, do you know how much money they came with? Are they retired? Did they need to build businesses or not? Are they independently wealthy? Are they first or second generation? Are they just returning home to their uncles and people that are going to look out for them? That's not your situation. That's not your situation. You have to be clear about who you are wherever it is that you're going. I know who I am when I'm here. I knew who I was when I was in Brazil. You have to be clear about who you are and what your situation is whenever you're considering going anywhere. Anyway, because I'm from a Nigerian family, that must mean that I should aim to go back, and that should be my ultimate life goal. It's almost as if some people think that I owe it to Nigeria to move back, as if they're entitled to that, and they resent me for choosing not to do this. However, after experiencing a number of severe issues throughout my life that have left me with trauma and emotional wounds, and after growing up in the culture and experiencing the downsides of the culture, I've come to realize that the importance of creating a life that brings me joy and peace. And I know that moving to Nigeria would not be conducive to that life that I am trying to achieve. Do you hear her? Her commitment to her pursuit of joy and peace. Go to my Instagram, click the link tree. I have merch, resistance. Okay. Joy. My joy is my resistance. My peace is my resistance. It's valid. It is a valid form of resistance, because what does your oppressor want to do? Strip you of all joy, happiness, your health, your scalp, everything, your life, everything. That's what the oppressor wants to take from you. So what are you doing when you say, no, I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to thrive. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to grow inches. I'm going to have, low blood pressure. You're not going to murder me in the street. You win. That's a form of resistance. Also, as a human being, I'm entitled to live where I want to live, as long as I have the means to do so. And I don't think I owe it to anyone to move back to my parents' country, especially with all of its faults, which you kind of highlighted in your video when you were talking about Africa as a whole. Anyway, keep on doing what you're doing. You seem so wise and authentic, and it's refreshing to listen to someone on YouTube who's honest and isn't afraid to say what they think. I appreciate you, sis. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to send me that. I have other letters from other people who have said a similar thing. I'm here to encourage you to embrace your rights to peace and freedom and happiness, surrounded by people that look like you, because you created that community. You have that right. If you're interested and you feel like you need some help, or you just kind of want to have a conversation about where you are in your relocation process, go to the book now. You can go to my website, The Global Black Girl. You can go to Instagram and click book now. I have relocation sessions. If you want me to pull cards and ask spirit where it is that you should be going, if you want me to tap in and connect with your ancestors to find out what it is that they want, or to help you figure out where it is you want to be, I can do that, because I'm a spiritualist as well. This will absolutely be saved, so don't worry. I will be doing a part 2 next week, same time. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Get your girl to monetize, okay? Because I'm still really small and I'm not monetized yet. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be looking for your messages. I'm here to help. I'm here to encourage you. It may have felt rough, but trust me, I did it from a place of love. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Have a really good night, you guys. Bye.